It's Football Friday. It's also Victory Friday for the Sabres. Bills play tomorrow, a 4:30 kickoff with the Denver Broncos. That game is right here on WGR with pregame starting at 11. The Sabres game tomorrow will be on the Bet 1520. Sabres playing the Minnesota Wild for an afternoon affair, and that'll be on the Bet 1520. Jeremy and Joe, good morning. Football Friday brought to you by Salino Law. Car crash, call Salino. Call the 8s, and by Crosby's Pizza and Subs. Crosby's hometown fuel, game day ready since 1922. Joining us on the Western Hotline, Sal Capaccio, who was in attendance for last night's game. And a great night at the arena, Sal, and hopefully on our way into a great tomorrow with Minnesota at the arena again, and then the Bills and Broncos. Good morning.
Good morning. It was a great night last night. Max and I attended, and I told him, I said, this is like playoff hockey, man. This is what I've always wanted for you to experience. And me, it's been a long, long time, right? And there was a sequence where Ellis was really frenetic, right? He came out of the net. You remember that one, right? It was an adventure.
The one time.
How could we forget?
And it was right in front of us. And he said, my son, he's 12, he goes, Dad, I don't know if my heart's ever been racing like that watching that whole sequence. That was incredible. And I'm like, I know, that's playoff hockey. That's intense, right? It was incredible. Lots of Canadians fans around us. Oh, my gosh, right? I mean, I get it. I know it. We had a guy though next to me. He drove 7 hours to come to Buffalo for the game, and it's a lot more expensive in Montreal or in Toronto for them to go to games. And I'd love to we get to a point where like that doesn't happen. I understand why it happens, but it was nice sending them home, with a loss last night. That was cool.
Yeah. Great night for the Sabres. They win. The Bills hoping for a great afternoon in Denver. Sal, you talked to Sean McDermott yesterday. Of course, we got the players that were ruled out. And then I'm a little surprised. Good news on Ty Johnson, questionable. McDermott told you he'd be further evaluated, and he's not been ruled out. So that's good news. And Ed Oliver and Curtis Samuel also listed as questionable. So the injury report, I feel like, we know the players that are out, but a little bit of good news and maybe some optimism for tomorrow on some important players.
Yeah, I'd say encouraging news, optimism is right, but I just really have a tough time right now maybe seeing Ty Johnson playing, but it is possible, sure. He did not practice for 2 days, and when I talked to Coach McDermott, he said they're going to get a look at him. I said, is he going to practice today? So we're going to get a look at him, and then he was limited. So he did practice, but to what capacity, not really sure what he was able to do or not, and then we'll figure out and know, tomorrow if he's active or inactive. So it might be a stretch for him to actually play in this game. And then as far as Ed Oliver, there are 3 guys who are on IR to return: Ed Oliver, Curtis Samuel, DeMar Hamlin. Curtis Samuel and DeMar Hamlin both were full participants all week. So I think the Bills could very easily activate them. There's no rule they have to, though, right? They don't have to activate them. They can keep them on IR until the time is ready. It feels like Samuel would definitely be activated, I think, because of the situation at wide receiver. Ed Oliver, though, is listed as questionable, and he's only been limited all week. I've seen video. I was there. I took video of him. People have seen it. He's got a big brace on his elbow. He has no brace on his knee. But it's going to be interesting to see what they decide to do here. It is, I agree, encouraging. I think it's very important if they get him back. I don't know if you guys realize this, but the Broncos lost their starting center back in December, and they've had a backup playing over the last 3-4 games of the season, maybe 2 games of the season. So, having Ed Oliver back would also be good for that, just kind of knowing what their offensive line is dealing with. Even though they're very, very good, they do have a backup playing there. So, yeah, I guess a long way to answer your question. I am encouraged by that, but no Max Harrison and no Jordan Poyer. We know that.
Yeah, how impactful do you think Oliver would be, or really is needed? Because it's tough to guess, right? Like, is he 60% of what he was playing through injury? Is he 90%? But how about the position that he would be coming back into, Sal? Because Deion Walker's given them some good games, and Sanders maybe has been better second half of the year, but I don't know. Largely, is it a position that they feel comfortable with without Oliver?
I think they're comfortable with how these guys are progressing. I think they need more, though, and they would, love to have Ed Oliver back. I think he can be a difference maker at times, Joe. Ed Oliver can be a little feast or famine sometimes, right? There's times we're in games where, you say, man, boy, we didn't hear much from Ed Oliver. And then there's time in games he just dominates at times. I think the biggest thing with Ed, everybody talks about the run game and Bills being leaky against the run, and he can make plays in the backfield, right? He can penetrate, he can do that. he's also a smaller, undersized guy, and teams could take advantage of him in the run. But I think where Ed Oliver's been mostly missed this year, the Bills' sack numbers are not good, as you guys know. And yeah, he can get a couple of sacks, but when he can push the pocket to the left or right, that's where a Joey Bosa, a Greg Rousseau show up, right? So getting the interior pressure from Ed Oliver, I think, is something they've really missed. If they can get some interior pressure and then force a quarterback to move left or move right when he doesn't want to, not a scramble situation where he's like, okay, I'm gonna get out here, and then all of a sudden Joey Bosa's waiting for him. All of a sudden Greg Rousseau's waiting for him. I think that's where they've missed Ed Oliver the most.
Sal, these two teams met in the playoffs last year. Sean McDermott has a lot of experience against Sean Payton. They've coached against each other a number of times. Joe put up some stats on that. What did McDermott have to say about like the matchup with this team? Mm-hmm. What is different? These teams are not that different from last year. That goes not only for the Bills but for the Broncos as well.
Yeah, I mean, Sean McDermott has a lot of respect for Sean Payton. When I asked him about not only have you played against him as a head coach, as a defensive coordinator in the division, of course. And then he even went back, McDermott did, to me, to talk about when he was in Philly and going against Sean Payton. And I think Payton was in Dallas, I think, at the time, right? And, just how much, they can put a lot of stress on you. They will mix up a lot of different things. They'll try and find matchups. There's no doubt about that. They'll get creative. That's the offensive side. I'll tell you guys this. We talked about this yesterday. You got to be aware of everything in this situation with Sean Payton. I mean, he'll throw a trick play in there on special teams. I don't doubt that he's cooking something up. I mean, that's what he does. It's special teams, big game, and we've seen it in the Super Bowl. We saw it last year when they played. One thing that I tweeted this out last night when I got back from the hockey game and I was doing some digging and thinking about it. I don't know if people realize the Bills on the road this year, they've allowed less than 20 points a game. At home, they've allowed about 24. There's a pretty big difference. And one of the biggest differences is communication. Especially with a lot of new revolving parts on defense all year, the Bills on the road have been better on defense, points allowed, than they have at home. And I know people have told me on X, well, they've played lesser opponents. Fine. I mean, there's a lot of nuance to it. 4 points a lot. And I'll tell you, I mean, defensive players have told me, like, yeah, communicating. Like a lot relies on communication. When the other team is on the field and the crowd is quiet, that actually can play into helping the Bills communicate a little. They're disguising coverages, especially against younger quarterbacks. I think that's a big deal. I'm not saying you'd rather be on the road, right? But I do think there's a bit of an advantage for the defense to be able to communicate in a situation like that.
I wonder how much confidence do you have, Sal, in the defense? The matchup is a lot of that. But we talked about it earlier that really there's a lot of playoff games that aren't the Chief playoff games and then the one Bengal playoff game where McDermott and his defenses have done a pretty darn good job. Going all the way back, you want to even go to the Jaguars or Texans games before they really became a contender, that they've had good performances. And again, this offense you're about to play, you make the point about communication. Like, I don't know, other than Poyer being out, I don't really see a lot of reasons why the Bills shouldn't have a good day on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it this way, Joe. As long as the Bills don't screw it up, I think they'll be okay, right? I mean, like, don't make a drastic mistake where you have a blown coverage, which is possible. If you have a chance to get the ball, take the ball away, take the ball away. Do something that, make sure you don't screw it up. When you have an opportunity to make a play, make a play. This is a Denver Broncos offense that I still can't believe. We had Mark Schlereth on the podcast, Always Game Day in Buffalo, and I didn't know and realize until he said it. I guess Bo Nix leads the league in pass attempts.
Yes.
Like right? You know what I mean? They throw the ball a lot. And when you put a young quarterback in that situation and you have a smart defense and a bunch of guys that know how to communicate, disguise coverages, I think that you have opportunity there, right? But at the same time, they have the ability to make some plays. So, yeah, I agree with you. Like, on that side of the ball, I feel like the Bills should take care of business. They just have to do what they're supposed to do to be able to do that.
I found earlier in the week, Nix is the first quarterback to lead the league in pass attempts and not reach 4,000 yards since Brett Favre in 2006.
Well, they do a lot of stuff underneath. They have a lot of checkdowns. His average depth of target is not very high. The Bills are going to have to tackle in this game. They had to tackle last week, and there were times where they missed a couple, and then they made a couple big tackles in the open field. I think you guys probably saw Dan Orlovsky's breakdown of Cole Bishop's tackle in the open field on ETN the one play.
Yeah.
They're going to have to tackle in this game because the Broncos are going to they're going to check the ball down, and they're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try and check, and they're going to check the ball down.
Do you remember what the Bills did spying Bo Nix last year? Because I watched some of that game back, and it looked like Milano was the one.
You're right. He was. Early on, at least. I don't remember if it was the whole game, but yes, Milano was the spy pretty much. And there was a play early on that really stands out, and you probably remember watching this now. It probably had to be first quarter. Nix scrambles to his right, and Milano just absolutely does a great job to get down the line and force him out of bounds. I think he got credit for a sack. He might have lost a yard on it. And it just like that underscored right there. Okay, like Milano was just totally on him wherever he went as a spy. And I do think that the Bills could very well employ that strategy again. Like keep spy on him. I'm telling you, like if you keep him in the pocket, I think your chances are greatly enhanced to make a play to win this game. He is much better when he starts running around and he's out of the pocket, and he can use his athleticism. He can use his legs. People say about Bo Nix, and I agree, when things speed up for him, that's when he makes mistakes. But it's when things speed up when he should be in the pocket and scanning. When everything else is speeding up and everybody's running around and trying to make plays, then he's kind of in his element there. You know what I mean? Like Josh was early in his career.
Sal Capaccio. We're going to call in here. Eric in Elma is up. Eric, good morning. You're on with Sal.
Morning. Thanks for taking my call. So my question goes back to a narrative that we had kind of been hearing that, the Bills might be stashing something on offense, and, we weren't really seeing the full offensive picture, and we kind of got word like that from Josh talking on his pressers and stuff. I just wondered, do you guys think that was the case last week? How much did the offense surprise you? I remember some of the plays, the fake screen to Khalil Shakir where we're hitting Dalton Kincaid, like a real tendency breaker. I just wonder, like, how surprised were you by the offense, and do you expect to be surprised again this week?
Thanks, Eric. To me, Sal, like that Kincaid throw, that is a staple of what they do. They mix that in. That's kind of like the second punch to all the screens that they run. The thing, Allen spoke about the throw to Cooks and how that was something they've added. And for me, if we're talking about anything they might have added into this offense, it is most likely to be dialed up looks and things that are built for Cooks, because he's one that's only been on the team for about a month, right? So of all the elements you could really maybe surprise a team with, it might be these vertical shots to Brandon Cooks that you're finding open.
Yeah, because the Bills have these injuries, excuse me, at wide receiver, we know that, Shavers and Gabe Davis are more guys. They're guys that, they can catch the ball, but they really rely on them in the run game a lot. The guys they're going to have on the field, if they do activate Samuel, if they do elevate Mecole Hardman, let's say, they kind of have a different skill set overall. And you might have, even by circumstance, guys that you might have to kind of go, throw the ball down the field a little bit more. You know what I mean? Because you don't have necessarily the horses to do what you want to do with those guys up front. Well, guess what? The Bills haven't been a team that's been driving the ball down the field a ton this year. So maybe there's something you can put in the playbook like that. And I agree with you, Jeremy. Like Brandon Cooks, his insertion into the lineup has allowed them to do that, and probably maybe a little bit more than people thought they would, and take them by surprise. As good as the Denver Broncos defense is, and it's very good, they are 25th in the league in yards per pass attempt allowed. They've allowed over 6.2 yards per attempt. I mean, that's not good. Their teams have taken advantage of them a little bit down the field.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Bills Broncos 4:30 on Saturday. Tomorrow. Quick week. When's the team leave, Sal?
Oh
Soon?
Today, right?
Yeah. So today. So really, I'm glad you brought it up. There's a little part of the roster management that matters today, right? So I don't know if I talked about this to you guys.
This is the practice squad elevations come today.
Yeah, but there's correct. So here's the operation, but here's also the little kind of nuance to it too, which is, number one, because the Bills play at 4:30 tomorrow, they have to have their activations and elevations into the league office by today at 4 p.m. If they'd played at 8 o'clock tomorrow, they could wait till tomorrow to do it.
Yeah. It's
just a weird rule for the NFL. Like primetime game, wait till that day if it's not Sunday. Not a primetime game, you got to do it the night before. However, at 4 o'clock today, when that deadline comes, and generally the Bills put it out there at 4 o'clock, right? Every Saturday at 4 o'clock, I'm waiting. Who are the Bills elevating? Today at 4 o'clock Eastern, the plane will be in the air. So I don't know. I'm just going to let everybody know that even though the Bills have to actually file it with the league, I don't know when it's going to get announced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, is it going to be? Are they going to schedule a tweet or have somebody who works for the organization who's not in the air do it? Are they going to have the announcement? They're going to file it but not announce it till after the team gets into Denver, which is a little bit later because of the time change. Is it before you get on the plane? I don't know. I just think it's going to be just so everybody understands like what we're working with here.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do you have an opinion on the other AFC game, Sal, and who you think's going to win, or who you even want to win?
Man, I don't want to get to that point until the Bills take care of business, so to speak. But there's definitely pros and cons in my mind. I really don't know. I think in my heart of hearts, Joe, I know that New England's the better matchup for Buffalo, right? I think I know that because we've seen what Houston can do, and their defense is just so hell-raising. And going in there and seeing that, you're like, come on. That said, I mean, Drake May can have a little magic there, and I think maybe going against C.J. Stroud, and he's turned the ball over too, and they both have a little bit, might be better. And I keep saying this, I just couldn't stomach the thought of going to New England and losing an AFC Championship. It is just, but you'd love to beat them there. You know what I mean?
Oh, the hype would be crazy.
Right. I feel if you're someone that thinks like quarterbacks win in the playoffs, that's how this works, then you should want to see Stroud instead of May. Meanwhile, the Texans are going to be without Nico Collins. He missed practice. He's going to miss this game.
Yeah, I wonder how big a deal that's going to be, Sal, because they're already so limited.
Did Christian
on offense.
Gonzalez come back for the Patriots? He was also in concussion protocol.
I think he is trending to return from what I've read.
Okay.
And Christian Kirk did have a monster game last week, but is he able to do that if Collins isn't out there? I don't know.
Yeah, Gonzalez up to full participation while Nico Collins missed. So, all right, Sal. Well, safe travels, and we'll talk to you on pregame.
You got it, guys. Thanks.
Sal Capaccio joining us on the Western Hotline, Bills and Broncos.